Good evening, everyone. It's 6 o'clock on Monday, April the 15th. Happy Tax Day, everybody. This is the regular meeting of District 882 School Board, and we'd like to invite everyone here to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for one nation, under God, indivisible,
liberty and justice for all.
So we're going to move into our regular agenda. We have a tentative agenda that we will approve here with any commentary.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Melissa Curtis, seconded by Casey Root. All those in favor of making our tentative agenda the agenda for the evening, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Motion passes 5-0. Please note also that member Mark Branson is absent this evening. We don't have any citizens' comments. Moving into fiscal stability, we have a consent agenda that consists of minutes from April the 1st, our personnel matters, bills, and our financial quarterly report. Under the personnel matters, there is one date typo. It's the last entry on the grid. Accidentally, someone typed in 2023 instead of 2024. It's being corrected right now. So is there any discussion of the consent agenda items? So we move these as a group.
So moved.
Moved by Melissa Curtis, seconded by Casey Root. All those in favor of the consent agenda items approved as presented on the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes 5-0. Now we have a really wonderful recognition ceremony for this evening. We have, for the first time ever in our school district, we have one of our students has been awarded the AAA award from the Minnesota State High School League. It's an immense undertaking, and we couldn't be prouder. We all feel like parents sitting here tonight, hearing about what it takes to become just nominated for this particular award. I have Gary Revenig and Superintendent Olson take it over from here.
All right, I'm going to have the Fosens come on up right away here. With Paul, we have his parents, Kurt and Louise Fosen. So congratulations to you guys. All right, just a little bit real quick on why we're here. The Minnesota State High School League has a AAA award that they give out to one senior and one female, male and one let me start over. One male and one female from the senior class. And we're in a region 8AA. There's 16 high schools in our region, and there's 8 regions across the state, so 128 high schools. So each year, Monticello, we nominate one male and one female. Paul was our male recipient this year. He went on to the region level and won for 8AA, representing the 16 schools there. Then there was a banquet while the choir was in Chicago, so he wasn't able to be at the banquet. So that's why he's going to get all of his stuff here tonight. So the first time in school history, the award started in '89, so 35 years, it's the first time someone from Monticello has won. So real quick, the purpose of the AAA program, it's to recognize and honor high school seniors who have excelled in the classroom, in the arts and athletics, to elevate academic standards and create greater awareness of league-sponsored activities and their values, and to provide member schools of the league with their opportunity to participate in a statewide program that supports, promotes, recognizes academic and extracurricular activities. So to get nominated for this award, what does that mean? What do you have to have? Well, you have to have a high GPA. Paul has that. Okay, 4.0 GPA at Monticello High School. You have to participate in the fine arts, just to name a few off the top of my head, because he's in almost everything we offer. He had the lead, he was the lead character in Beauty and the Beast in our musical. He's in band and he's in choir, and he's our student council president. So he's extremely busy. Then you have to be in activities. And he is a state participant in swimming, He is a state participant in track and a state champion in track, and he's a state participant in cross country. So he has excelled in all three of his sports, and he has abided by all of the high school league criteria. He's been a model student at Monticello High School. So out of all of those schools, Paul is our winner. So he also was interviewed on Channel 9 News, and Gavin's going to show that clip that happened last week.
For a combination of academics, arts, and athletics.
They beat out thousands of students across the state for what's called the AAA Award. Our own Corin Huggard met all of the winners. He's live at the Minnesota State High School League. Corin, they sound like incredible students and young people here. It's just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Clearly smarter than me, Randy and Amy, because I'm standing out here in this weather. But seriously, they're just teenagers, but they're hugely accomplished already, and that's at an overwhelming amount of stuff. Introducing Minnesota's 2024 AAA winners.
My name's Madeline Go, and I go to Sieben High School.
My name is Caden Swenby, and I attend Fruitable Cherami High School.
My name is Tegan Stark. I'm from Minnewaska Area High School.
I'm Paul Fosen, and I come from Monticello High School.
They're almost all perfect students.
I have a 4.0 GPA.
And if not, they know which in a long list of challenging courses kept them from perfection.
So I got a B+ in a college sociology class.
To win AAA, they also have to demonstrate excellence outside of the classroom.
I do a little bit of everything.
For Tegan, that means track, cross-country, band, choir, jazz choir, National Honor Society, student council, and working as a nursing assistant.
Cross country in the fall, swimming in the winter, and then track and field in the spring.
Paul went to state in all three of his sports, sings in the choir, does musical theater, and plays alto sax in at least a couple school bands. Madeline captains the swim team and competes in Nordic skiing. But it's in band where she finds peace in a hectic schedule.
It's kind of like a comfort to me. When I play my instrument, I know that I can just leave all my thoughts behind and focus on my instrument.
Each of their schools nominated them for AAA, then they were selected among 32 regional winners before one final selection at a banquet last month.
Everyone sounds so accomplished, and they've done so much that it was daunting.
Winning shocked all four of them, but in Caden's case, the timing of the surprise was perfect. He found out just as his team lost the state basketball championship.
I was a little sad about losing, but then he told me this, and I'm like, well, it's hard to be sad when I just won a really big award.
He was also the school's quarterback, and he'd have some AAA advice for younger kids in the huddle.
But it's just be involved in as many things as you can.
Teachers say they all lead by example, like Madeline does every time she picks up her clarinet. And they all get $4,000 college scholarships. They'll all almost be sophomores by the time they get there because of all the advanced courses they took. Live at Brooklyn Center, Corin Huggard, Fox 9.
Right. Congratulations. We'll work our way up. First, and then a medal. The medal says AAA state winner. So congratulations.
And I like filling airtime, so one of the things that I'd like to say about Paul is as you get to know him, and like all of us have as his teachers and administration, he obviously does a remarkable job with all the activities and sports. You could even see his scouting uniform, but just the involvement in his faith group and just all the things that he does across the community is truly phenomenal. But beside all that busyness is just the person that he is. So it's great for all of these things that he does. But let's not forget, as future generations or any student, just to learn from how he carries himself as a person.
2024 AAA state winner. Okay, and check for $1,000. We'll receive a check. Yeah. for all 4 years of college, and we'd like to get a picture with the school board. All right, school board, come on up.
We'll have you from. And then your mom and dad. All right. Fill in.
Thanks, Gavin.
How about a round of applause?
All right, last thing I just want to also recognize, Ashley Lewis was our female senior AAA winner, and Ashley also finished in the top 5 for 8AA. So very proud of Ashley and what she's done at Monticello High School as well. And then finally, I have to head back to lacrosse. We've got a game going on in the stadium. I want to recognize and congratulate our tennis team off to a great start, 6-0. And I know Kitty's going to have a nice, fun report for you guys today. So thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Gary, am I correct that Paul is missing a meet to be here tonight?
Yes, we moved a lot of events from Tuesday to Monday because of the weather, and I didn't even think to touch base with Paul. He came to see me at 4 o'clock and said, I skipped the track meet to come to the school board meeting, so.
I think he has a good
appreciate you
reason.
doing that, Paul. He's a busy guy. He has something almost every single night, so thanks for being here at the school board meeting. This is a big night.
Thank you, Gary. Well, it's hard to beat that, but we're moving on to collaborative connections, and every school board meeting we have, I'm a little bit more astonished at how generous our community is in donations, and tonight is no small a matter of astonishment when you add up, those of you that can do some really quick mental math with the agenda, you'll see that we have over $10,500 worth of donations just this meeting. It's just really astonishing how the community has come together to support the programs that we have and our students and the things that otherwise we would not be able to do without these donations. And so I'm going to have Superintendent Olson speak about these a little bit more.
Excuse me. Before the resolution, I will name the 16 donors, and what, like Chair Ziebarth said, that's in 2 weeks that we had 16 people come forward. So it's just absolutely incredible. So I'm just going to read them. Newport Healthcare, $700 for the sponsorship of our Summer Resilience Conference. Prairie Care, $600 for the sponsorship of our Resilience Conference. Cargill, $1,000 for our Monticello fishing team. UMC, $1,000 for the Monticello fishing team. Minnesota Dark House and Angling Association, $1,000 for our Monticello fishing team. All Elements Roofing, $1,000 for our Monticello fishing team. DBA, Monticello Auto Service, $1,000 for our Monticello fishing team. And actually, I'm going to just forget the Monticello fishing team on the rest of them because until I get to the one that is not Monticello fishing team. State Farm, Dan Olson, $500. Monticello Chiropractic and Therapy, $500. Surf Pro of Wright County, $500. Dahlheimer Beverage, $500. Moon Motorsport, $400. BJ's Bait and Tackle, $400. Fein Companies, $400. And then our last 2 donations out of the 16 are going to the trap team, $500 from Cap Custom Homes and $500 from Dahlheimer Beverage. So thank you to all those 16 fine community organizations as they are focusing and giving attention to our students, and especially their students on the Monticello fishing team, our trap team, and then the Resilience Conference. So thank you so much, community.
And so we have a resolution before we move for acceptance of these donations.
Therefore be resolved by the Monticello School Board 82 to gratefully accept the following donations as presented, Superintendent Olson.
Second.
Moved by Jeff Hegle, seconded by Melissa Curtis. All those in favor of accepting these very generous donations, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Motion passes 5-0. And just for the community's benefit, all of the donations, every penny goes to the program that it's supposed to go to. There's no overhead fees or anything, as if you were donating to a 501c3 or something, there might be a little bit that goes to administration. If you donate to our district, every penny goes to the students. So I just wanted to make sure people understood that. So moving on to our student representatives report. Jack Geislinger is attending a sports event this evening, and so we have Michaela Burmis that's substituting for him, and we have Gabby Cruz-Longley.
Hello, everyone. As it was said, Jack is not able to be here, so Michaela is here to help me out. To start us off, we're in the fourth quarter, almost done. The weather has been very nice for all the sporting events. And
in other highlights, we also got to be able to experience another conference, at least for the seniors, of Reggie Dabbs, and it was very informal. Really just had the message of to keep going and that you had support. And he's an amazing soprano saxophone player, so it's also a really fun concert. And then another one is the Polar Plunge. So the Polar Plunge is a unified event, which means that there's a lot of donations that go to our unified classrooms, also our unified programs, and then Special Olympics. And we had roughly 40 jumpers, and then we raised about $14,000, and it was really good weather. So even though the water was really cold, probably will not be jumping in it personally again, but outdoors, after you got out of the water, it was warm.
another event coming up is prom on April 27th. It's almost here. We began selling tickets last week or the week before. And our theme this year is A Roaring Good Time, based on the 1920s and the Great Gatsby. Testing is also coming up. The ACT took place on April 7th with roughly 80 juniors that took part in it, and it took most of the morning, and then they were released to go back to their classes afterwards. And then the MCAs start tomorrow. Math for the 11th graders and reading for the 10th graders, and then science will come later in the month. And then AP classes will also be taking their tests in May as well.
And then there's also mock crash coming up soon on the 24th of this month, where the juniors and seniors will be able to see a mock crash, which is also put on by our district, and it's to promote safe driving. This month is also Just Drive Day, which is on the 27th, and it's really just promoting the Just Drive and just awareness for safe driving. And as an Interact member, we are also doing a lot of things for Just Drive Day, such as bagging at Cub Foods. So Interact has been able to be on hands-on approach, especially with the committee of Just Drive.
We also have our Washington, D.C. trip coming up. It happens roughly every 2 years. And so the students can sign up to go on it, and they go out to DC for, I think it's 4 days, and that's coming up next week. And then just updates from the life of a senior. Many of my classmates and myself are already admitted to colleges, whether military, going into trades. Some have even talked to their counselors about going straight into the workforce, and it feels nice to almost be done. Yeah, that's all for today.
Any questions from the board? How many days left? I know you know.
Roughly 40, you think?
40. I have not actually been keeping count.
Wow.
I'm seeing some emotions in the audience. Might be 36.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
Like some of your colleagues may be keeping track.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Michaela, for filling in. So moving on to our Monticello High School tennis team trip recap. We have Coach Horgan and the tennis team here. They're going to, so for those of us that are listening, we have revamped our program over the last year or so that there is when a group is going to go on a trip, there's a process how they apply for that, and then they come to the school board, and then we ask them to come back afterwards and give us a recap, let us know if anything went differently than planned and that sort of thing. So we're trying to make it a more organized approach and a more follow-through with that. So welcome, Coach Horgan.
Thank you. First of all, thank you guys so much for allowing us to come and present to you guys. This was truly a trip of a lifetime for these boys and myself as their coach. And so we just wanted to follow through and give you guys kind of an update once we got back. So today we are going to be talking about a number of things. I'm actually going to let the players present to you guys, but we're just going to give you an overview of what we did each day with some picture highlights, and then we just wanted to honor the sponsors that allowed us to go on this trip, and then just give you an update on our season.
On Monday, we arrived to the airport at about 8 in the morning for our flight from Minneapolis to Southwest Florida International Airport. After that, we got in a couple vans and we took about an hour-and-a-half drive out to Babcock Ranch. After getting settled, we headed over to the pool for some fun and some amazing food. Coach Horgan's husband, Bjorn, took time out of his own work schedule to come cook for all 16 of us, 12 players and 4 coaches. And then lastly, on Monday night, we had a great 2-hour practice out on the public courts with some awesome weather.
On Tuesday, which was our first full day, we started off with a nice morning practice. We had a quick lunch, and then we had a chance to actually go watch the Twins in a spring training game against the Atlanta Braves. That was really cool. It's a fun game. And then we ended the night with challenge matches, which is basically just to determine what our lineup is going to look like for the season.
Wednesday, we went to go see an eco tour of Babcock Ranch, was the place that we were staying at. We got to see different animals like alligators, turkeys, deer, and different types of birds, and many other cool animals that we got to touch. We all got to touch a baby alligator, which was quite the experience. After the eco tour, we stopped at the alligator shack and got to try out alligator, which is also quite an experience. After the alligator shack, we all got ready for practice that afternoon and had an amazing time getting to hit in the sun and not shoveling snow in Minnesota. After our practice, we had a quick break and started challenge matches for another day under the lights. Overall, we had another great day at Babcock Ranch.
On Thursday, we had a morning practice. We got to go to Fort Myers Beach. And then which was really fun. That was just a fun time and good team building time. And then we ended the day with going to the Boathouse, which was a local restaurant.
We started off Friday morning with practice on the clay courts because we don't have any clay courts locally. So that was fun. We got to slide around on the clay courts. And then we had to clean up our condos. It was a little experience because we were a little dirty. We figured it out and it worked out well. And then we got an egg hunt with candy and a couple $1 bills. Everyone took them out before I got in, but it's all right. Then we went on our airplane, and we were a little more spread out than on the way there, but it was a smooth ride.
So, just a quick recap. Tennis was amazing, warm weather. It was just a very good experience for a spring break. Very educational. Got to learn about all the nature and everything around it with the eco tours. It was a great team bonding session with just getting a better team chemistry all around. Then it was just better weather than here in Minnesota. Left at the perfect time with all the snow, and we got to enter into cool 70s and 80s.
All right, a huge thank you to everybody who helped sponsor this trip. Cub Foods, Pizza Ranch, Culver's, for letting us do our fundraisers there. Taco John's, and North Wright County area JC's, Monticello American Legion Post 260, Richard Edwin Hansen. An additional thanks to the school board and the superintendent and the AD for approving the trip. Leanne Gertz and Christy Kuhn for organization of our fundraisers and stuff like that. It was super helpful. Bjorn for cooking. Miss Terry Miller for water bottles. And then, of course, Coach Hansen, Coach Klein, and Coach Horgan for helping us throughout the whole thing and setting the whole thing up for us.
So just a quick update on our season thus far. Gary Revnig actually stole my thunder and told you guys that we are currently 6-0 with wins over Delano twice, Chisago Lakes, Cambridge Isanti, and Alexandria, which were both incredible matches and hard-fought battles by these boys, and then Crookston. And so we really have just had a wonderful time this season. This group of kids is really, truly a special group of kids. And this trip just allowed us to be able to really create that team chemistry. So thank you guys once again for letting us come and present, and also for providing us the opportunity to go. Do you guys have any questions?
Can you guys just, for the board, I mean, can you start, just name your names? We have them on the agenda, but just to share your names. And then I also just want to say, you're the, we usually get the people who come on the front end, but thank you for doing the 360. This is really cool. You've set the bar really high for anybody else who wants to come and request a trip.
Yes, my name's Camden Fearbend. I'm a junior, and right now I'm exhibition or 3 doubles.
My name's Ethan Kuhn. I'm also a junior, and I'm at 2 singles right now.
My name's Wyatt Hansen, and I'm at 1 doubles right now, and I'm a junior.
My name's William Kuhn. I'm a sophomore, and I'm at 3 singles.
My name's Caleb Kallenbach. I'm a junior, and I play 2 doubles.
My name's Ryan Shima, senior captain, and I play 1 singles.
Rylan Fearbend, senior captain, and I play 2 doubles.
When I have to give these boys a shout out, because when I said, hey, does anyone want to present at the school board? Because I was thinking it's just going to be me. These guys were like, we will do it. And I said, yes. So huge kudos to these boys for being willing to come and talk to you guys. So thanks again.
Wonderful. And I also noticed, do you have don't have many seniors, so you have a good team already put together for next year. So that's pretty exciting too. So, yep. The students can be excused if you would like to.
Smart. They're not only good at speaking, but they're smart too.
It was nice that they sat down. We'll give them just a minute to exit the room here. So moving on in our agenda, we have item D. This is a year that we're going to be renegotiating our transportation contract, and Vice Chair Jamie Sieben is going to discuss some transportation cost proposals with us.
Sure. I'll go through kind of the highlights of it, and then ask if you guys have any questions. And then it goes for approval, first board meeting of the month next month. Right? Yep. So our job wasn't too difficult because there wasn't very many people that put proposals in. So it was Hegle, and then the CST put in for type 3 transportation, which is our vans. So really the only ones that we were comparing were the vans in terms of prices and total package. CST was something new to us that we didn't know, so we had to go outside the district and ask other local school districts who have used them before exactly what the company was. And so what it is it's a transportation company. And so it's different than like Hoagland's, which typically you know what drivers are driving your vans and routes. This one, it could be different drivers. They don't have a router, so we'd have to pay for a router. They don't do disciplinary. They don't communicate with families. So basically, you're just paying for that transportation service, and that's it. So something different. So we do know that there was a couple other schools that have used them before, and so we did ask those school districts, and they're actually, like STMA is moving away from them. So they're moving to one all in-house from what they came from before, mainly because of a lot of the things that I just brought up for reasons why for the district. And so when you look at the pricing, it really just depends on consumer price index. When you guys look, Hoagland's came in, if it's a 2% consumer price index, then we're under what CST originally proposed to us. And then Hoagland's came in just above if it's that 5% max, just based on where the economy's at that time. So we went through it all, we talked through it, and it's my recommendation that we go with Hoagland's again for our next contract period. Not only did they meet the numbers that we were looking at, given if it's a 2% increase, but also the service that they provide our district for our students, I don't even think is comparable when it comes to the van driving and the quality that our students would be receiving.
Yeah, knowing the same driver every single day is a big bonus, big plus for the kids. My kids ride the bus; they're always excited to see the same person, and we know when the bus driver's not there. So I think that's a big plus on Hoagland's side.
We've been really lucky in our district because of the structure of Hoagland's. We haven't had some of the catastrophes in hiring that some other districts have had where they just didn't have a lot of bus drivers that were willing to drive. So we've been extremely fortunate because Hoagland's has been able to do that for us.
Well, and I don't know, I mean, they got hit pretty hard this year. A lot of transportation companies did because of the state coming out with the sick and safe leave for part-time employees. So that's increased costs substantially for all transportation places. But if you even look and compare it to all the other, we have listed Anoka, Elk River, Osseo, Rochester, St. Cloud, STMA prices-wise, they're still under it, which is impressive.
Do you want to take us through the proposal?
Sure. Do you have any specific questions besides, I mean, the first page kind of sums it up. So what you're looking at right there is the bus rates that we're talking about. So Hoagland's comes in at 386.65, and you can see, oh wait, that's the bus one.
You have to go to the next tab where you have the cost per day.
There we go.
Like
Yeah.
line D.
So when we're looking at, the only thing that we can really compare to is we're comparing to the type 3 vehicles right now. So you can look at the cost per day that's really there for singles and then lifts. And then if you go over to CST, yeah, you can scroll all the way over and down to, I think, is where Tina's cost evaluation is. Maybe Tina can roll it. All the way over. And now down.
Yeah, I can jump in. I don't think it's fair for Jamie to summarize what I put together. So like Jamie said, we have the proposal for just type 3 transportation. That was the only proposal outside of Hoagland's that we received. So in here, the contract proposals had a 5-year contract term. So with CST, they had set prices for each of the 5 years, or 4% on their rates, where Hoagland's had CPI or 5% as the maximum. So I did one proposal for Hoagland's that had as a 2% average, knowing we could have some good years, we could have some bad years. So what's maybe something on the lower end of 2% across all 5 years. And then for what's the maximum if all 5 years were 5% or higher, but we're capped at 5. So currently, we have 18 Type 3 vans that we have with special ed transportation, some which are 10 people passenger van or under 10. But either way, for Hoagland's, it's the same price. And then what's the lift cost? What's the single route? What's the single route with lifts? What's the midday cost? And there was a little bit of a difference where CST only had hourly rates, where Hoagland's had a daily rate. So the middays are, I believe it's 8:30 to 2 or 9 to 2, somewhere in there is that 5-year period where it's a midday. So we do have a lot of different routes that are happening with one van. So we really maximize the daily rate with Hoagland's versus the hourly rate. And then like Jamie said, we would have to hire a person to do the routing, communications with families, and possibly discipline. Otherwise, that would be an additional responsibility back to building principals or Superintendent Olson or whoever it might be. So having a person dedicated to that. And then what's that 5-year cost for all those scenarios and comparing it, trying to be apples to apples. I had another thought and it's gone.
Just a quick question on here. There's a min and a max. So there's a min of 168, a max of 173. Can you clarify on what those are and what happens if we go over the max? Is there another adder on here we don't see?
So I only did a minimum, a guaranteed minimum that we will pay 168 school days. Where there is a possibility for us to be at 173, I didn't calculate that out, but right now our calendars don't really go towards 173. But
this is all in the 168, so this is the plan.
Yep.
And then this takes into account all of the changes that we're making with the school start times as well. I know Hoagland's was a very big participant in that process throughout the last year, looking at how we would do our bus routes a little bit differently to accommodate the new starting times.
The Type 3 is a hair different, because that's what we're talking about vans, but Gavin, too, if you want to scroll all the way to Z and then down, that's on both. There's the final Tina's cost evaluation there, and that's the 5-year. So then if you do the same for Hoagland's, you can see the highlighted numbers and the differences. So Hegle beats the CST number if it's at 2%, but then Tina also shows the 5% if it's maxed every single year. And that's the bottom one. So scroll up just a little bit, Kevin, just a little bit more. A little bit more. There's the 2% one you guys can see on your spreadsheets. But basically, it's all summarized in the summary page.
And so the max cost we would see is the 8.7. The minimum would be the 8.2. So we have that $500,000, just under $500,000.
Based on current routing.
Right.
You know, we can't, know the future of the IEPs and what it might dictate, but these are the routes that we have currently.
Right, and that's going to be the next question. So we have this contract here. Now we're doing school start time change. We'll get updated routes. What's the likelihood of them coming back later and say, oh, we miscalculated, now we need to add, when we need more? Or is this locked in where this is the dollar amount and it's their responsibility to optimize their routes however they see fit to meet our requirements, but this dollar amount stays the same?
Yes.
It's contracted unless we would add like a whole new route or something, you know what I'm saying? Like a whole new bus route that would impact or change it, but. Other than that, the only other feedback that we received on the other company that we were unfamiliar with for the Type 3 was that sometimes there was some hiccups in scheduling because of their schedules that they had mixed up with other schools, because they don't just service one. They service many, many schools. So given days off and calendar changes, that was a challenge as well.
Like a broker would be the best word to describe them, yeah.
So then the schools that are stepping away from them, did they make it the whole 5-year contract with the CST or?
They're up for renewal this year, I think. Is that what
Yeah.
TMA said?
I don't know, they may have had a 4-year
Okay.
contract, so whatever it is, they're up now to have a new contract next year.
Thank you. Is there any other questions from anybody from the board? Thank you very much, Jamie and Tina. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Tina.
So moving down on the agenda to our next item, I'm going to read a statement from our superintendent evaluation and contract process when we had a closed session last meeting. After closed sessions of the board, Minnesota open meeting law has some specific requirements which we are presenting this evening. A longer and more detailed summary of the 2 closed sessions is attached to the agenda for this meeting. For purposes of brevity, I'm going to read an abbreviated version of the document into the record as required by statute. The board has engaged in a sustained effort over the last 2 years in a thorough process to revise and modernize our annual superintendent performance evaluation process pursuant to Minnesota statute. Proper public notice was made for a closed session to conduct the annual superintendent evaluation by the Monticello School Board, District 882, for the 1st of April 2024. The session was planned as a closed session as permitted by Section 13D, 0.05 Subdivision 3 of Minnesota statute. The superintendent was given the option to receive the board evaluation during an open or a closed session, and Superintendent Olson requested a closed session. A second consecutive closed session for the 1st of April 2024 was properly publicly noticed and planned for the recurring superintendent contract negotiations. This closed session was pursuant to Minnesota Statute 123.B.143. For efficiency purposes, the board did not come back into open session between the 2 separate closed sessions. On April the 1st, 2024, the board met in open session for the regular board meeting and work session. At 18:55, the board proceeded to close the session for purposes of the superintendent evaluation and recurring contract negotiations. The board returned to open session at 21:16 and adjourned at the same time. At 19:56, the board initiated the superintendent evaluation. Present at the superintendent evaluation were all 6 board members and the superintendent. The full Monticello School Board and superintendent participated in a 4-hour goals and standards-based superintendent evaluation workshop the 1st of May 2023. The board met again the 2nd of October 2023 with the superintendent for a mid-year check-in. At that time, the formal annual superintendent evaluation process was mutually scheduled for spring of 2024. The following are the 4 priority performance goal areas for 2023-2024, along with the board rating. These performance expectations are ultimately ranked as highly effective, developing, and ineffective. Priority area number 1, student academic performance and professional knowledge of teaching and learning. The board unanimously rated the superintendent as highly effective. Priority area number 2, student attendance. The board unanimously rated the superintendent as highly effective. Number 3, district safety and security. The board unanimously rated the superintendent as highly effective. And strategic plan, number 4, the board unanimously rated the superintendent as highly effective. The board also identified numerous areas of superintendent strengths. These are detailed in the complete evaluation document, which is attached to the agenda for this evening. And they include a strong focus on school safety, exceptionally strong community, student, and staff engagement, and a strong promotion of focused professional development for academic staff to improve student academic outcomes. As an effective school board, we recognize that hiring the right superintendent to lead and manage our Monticello School District is one of our most important duties as elected officials. As an effective board, we also recognize and accept our solemn duty to our elected office and our community to conscientiously determine whether the authority delegated to the superintendent is being used as intended. Therefore, regular and thorough evaluation of the superintendent's performance is a major focus of our school board, and by extension, the superintendent. In summary, the board is pleased to share with the community that we have determined our superintendent is performing at a highly effective level. And thank you, Superintendent Olson. Moving on to item C, superintendent contract. Faculty master agreement. Rob Daniker, Director of Human Resources, is going to go over our faculty master agreement.
All right, Chair Ziebarth, members of the board. So here tonight just to present an overview of the faculty master agreement. Want to recognize 3 members of our board who served on our negotiating committee, Chair Ziebarth, Member Root, and Member Hegle. Put a lot of hours in and a lot of time and effort as well. And again, it was a team commitment, both from our side and also the teacher negotiator side as well. So happy to report that a tentative agreement was reached regarding the teacher master agreement on Tuesday, March 19th, after a day-long session and mediation. The Education Minnesota Monticello brought it to a vote of their membership this past Thursday, April 11th. And it is recommended that the Board of Education approve this agreement this evening. The essential financial changes to the agreement include the following. In the first year of the agreement, which is the current school year we are in, 3.75 increase to all cells, a 0% increase in district contribution on insurance. The hourly rate increases from $30 to $35 per hour. HRA contributions increase. Longevity increase of $50 at each of the increments. We have 4 different longevity pieces in the teacher contract. The addition of 3 extracurricular positions, those being boys volleyball, girls wrestling, which are both now recognized Minnesota State High School League activities, along with Fiddle Club. Schedule D, the part-time hourly rate, increased as well. And then in year two being next school year, would see a 4% increase on all cells, health insurance increase of 16% on family coverage, along with a $9.75 per month contribution to singles. Longevity increases $50 on each increment once again. And we see a market, again, adjustment for our part-time hourly rate, which is known as Schedule D. Language items that encompass both years. Obviously, the years cleanup. We also clean up gender references throughout. We also addressed 2023 Minnesota statute changes throughout the contract. So, for instance, the addition of ABE teachers into the teacher master agreement for the first time ever, along with clarification regarding Tier 1 teachers. Essentially, Tier 1 teachers are now equivalent to Tier 2 teachers in the teacher master agreement. HRA, there's a language cleanup there. It called out that the annual increase is pegged to the all items less food and energy CPI rate. Clarification on personal leave, that 5% of teachers rounded up to the nearest percent can be gone from one billing on any particular day. Also an increase from 2 days to 3 days for continuing contract teachers to roll over personal leave from 1 year to another. Long-term leave of absence, moved up the date of notification to the district from March 1st to February 1st. This will help expedite our annual staffing process, so much appreciated there. Schedule C, clarify the stipend amount for additional advisor positions that are created. Essentially, those positions would be created with a full stipend in mind rather than dividing an existing stipend. And then in the contract, there are 3 memoranda of agreements. Appendix number 1, the sick leave bank was retained in its entirety. Same with Appendix 2 related to flex time for teachers. That is the flexible time to start and end their day. They are still required to work an 8-hour shift. And then Appendix 3, workshop days, that was amended to delete the virtual option in Appendix 3. All in all, the total package value over 2 years of the agreement is 8.64 using the Minnesota School Board Association calculation.
Are there any questions for Mr. Daniker? Okay, this is an action item.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Casey Root, seconded by Melissa Curtis to accept the collective bargaining agreement as presented by Mr. Daniker. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Motion passes 5-0. Then moving on to item number C, superintendent contract. Mr. Daniker is going to give us an overview of the superintendent contract.
And I should have mentioned, as I started my remarks, both contracts are included in the agenda for tonight. So the red line version of the teacher master agreement is included in the agenda if the public would care to review that. On the superintendent's contract proposal, so year one on basis salary and benefit, the salary is proposed to be $190,598, which represents a 0% increase in year one. There is a national certification added to the contract, which is a $2,500 annual stipend for a period of 5 years. Superintendent Olson would be eligible for that stipend. In year two, the salary sees an increase of 3.0%. Same in year three, another 3.0%. Language items, once again, clean up the years references. In terms of holidays, across the board, in response to updated state law from last year and the addition of Juneteenth as a holiday, recognized holiday statewide, and in that statute, it states that the school cannot conduct business on Juneteenth. So the district has been augmenting contracts similar to the superintendent's simply to add that 12th holiday. HRA, there's an addition of an HRA retirement health benefit language. Superintendent is not eligible for that benefit, however, because he is grandfathered into a previous health retirement package, and the board wanted that HRA language put in there, I think wisely, to show that two different packages that various administrators of different eras have within the district. Number 4, automobile mileage. This was an addition of a $700 monthly stipend. This was from the previously agreed upon 2023 addendum for Superintendent Olson's previous third year of his prior contract. The doctoral program language is included in the package, $6,000 annual stipend for completion of a doctoral program. Superintendent Olson, should be noted, is not currently eligible for that stipend. Severance pay, language cleanup for the purpose of clarification, once again, from the 2023 addendum. And then the last piece there is a deferred matching contribution. And just, again, clean up there, eliminating possible reduction of the benefit. And so, again, this is an action item for the board this evening.
And I just wanted to make note that all 6 board members have received the language in the contract ahead of time, had chance to ask any questions related to that. So at this point, we would entertain a motion to approve the superintendent contract.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Melissa Curtis, seconded by Casey Root. All those in favor of approving the superintendent contract for 2024 to 2027, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Motion passes 5-0. Congratulations. Moving on to item number 9, our tennis court. As anybody that's been following the school board's meetings for a while has known, that we have some pretty serious damage on our tennis courts that needs to be repaired pretty promptly, and we've been dealing with this for quite a long time. So we have Terry with us this evening, Terry Woodworth, our Director of Grounds and Buildings, and Tina Burkholder to give us just a last-minute update on any additional information on the tennis court proposal.
Here, the Ziebarth board, this is just an action item today to approve the reconstruction of the tennis court. April 1st, we had a working session. We discussed this in great length to kind of go over some options. And it was decided then to just kind of go with this first quote. So again, this is an action item. So this would be to reconstruct the tennis courts at Monticello High School, 8 courts. And it's kind of fitting. The tennis team was here today talking about their trip, so they should have stayed around to hear this. So exciting to hear that there's a lot of young tennis stars on the team that'll benefit from this. So the process should only take 7 to 8 weeks. I have been talking with Gary Revning. There's a potential to start sooner in May. So if the construction company that's going to be doing this wants to start earlier, there's a potential we could be even done sooner in August than we thought. So, yeah, so.
You scroll down to the bottom. So the proposal in front of us this evening is for $291,401 for the fixing of the tennis courts.
Construction, yep.
Reconstruction of the tennis courts.
Yep.
And this is an action item.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Melissa Curtis, seconded by Casey Root. All those in favor of approving the tennis court proposal as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say no. Proposal passes 5-0. Thank you. We'll look forward to seeing the work that started out there. Then moving on to item B, we have Trina Burkholder, Director of Business Services, is going to go through budget revisions with us this evening.
Yes, so tonight we have our final look at a budget revision for the 23-24 school year. This is a list of all our funds that we have, and we're doing revisions on most of our funds, but we are not doing a revision on our ice hockey arena fund or our internal service fund that oversees our dental plan, our self-insured dental plan. Taking a look at our budget timeline, we're in the month of April, so this is when we typically do a final revision on the current budget. In June is when we'll do our final or first look at approval at the budget for next year, but this is kind of where we're at in our budget timeline. Started in September with our preliminary property tax levy, doing some quarterly updates, enrollment projections, looking at a first revision with the financial forecast, and now taking a look for next year. So in our general fund, how the state looks at our general fund is our general fund plus our Fund 12, which is our co-op, but for this presentation, keeping them separate to only look at the Monticello general fund and having the cooperative fund separate. Taking a look at our general fund revenues, the revised budget is going up $1.2 million. A lot of that has to do coming from state sources. We have an estimation of $182,000 coming from unemployment aid. We know what our unemployment costs were from June of last year, 2023, through August, but we don't know what June will be for 2024. So made a similar estimate based on what we saw for June of 2023, so that might go up, but on the flip side, the expenses would go up as well. We had $90,000 of new student support aid, whether that's coming directly for us or the flow through to the cooperative, which would for us would be the special ed cooperative and the Right Tech Center. We had $72,000 of new media library aid that we got from the state that wasn't included in our original budget. And then taking a look at other grants that we were recently approved by the state, Grow Your Own Adult, YST, Intro to Ed, and non-exclusionary discipline, just to name a few. On the federal side, that's the largest increase, where $500,000 of that is our COPS security grant that we were approved, and we're the host, where Becker and Big Lake and the Special Ed Cooperative are also part of that grant. So I'm assuming that most of that will get all the cameras from all of us, Monticello, Becker, Big Lake, and the COP might be purchased by June 30th. It might not, but worst case scenario, all that grant money would be recognized in this year, and then the expenses would also be recognized. So a lot of that had to do with the changes, but there's going to be similar offset with the expenses. So not a lot of changes with enrollment. Pretty much what I had estimated was kind of what we saw come through, and just a little bit of change in our levy with the career tech levy, whether it was our aid or Right Tech's aid based on a new estimate that was put in the the levy system last September. Any questions on revenues? Okay, on the expense side for the general fund, the revised budget is going up $2 million. So we had to adjust our salary projections with the mediated agreement with our teachers, added lane changes, added what the new hires were at when we did the budget last year, kind of estimated where we thought the replacements might be at. So the salary projections have where they were at. Having all the leaves, there's about 80 lines of general fund leaves, whether they're 10 days to 60 days, that make sure they're all accounted for in our salary projection. On the benefit side, we had an increase again, that $182,000 with unemployment costs to the district. And then with our retiree insurance, adding another $156,000 based on retirees. When the original budget was adopted, I had about 69 retirees that were in the sunset language. And when we looked at the revised, we had 78 retirees. And so in the other costs, whether it's purchase services, supplies, capital outlay, or other, again, that security grant of $500,000, the other federal grants or state grants that came in of about $100,000, including the change to our 10-year plan that has the tennis court project in there, assuming it all gets done prior to June 30th, but we know that doesn't always happen. And then it recognizes how we gave technology and the buildings their supply budget carryovers, about $220,000. So all of those are the main changes of our budget revision for the general fund expenses. Any questions on that? So what does that mean for our fund balance? So we're not seeing a big of an increase in our fund balance as we had projected in the original adoption. Our fund balance is only going up $246,000. I think at the original adoption time, it was over $1 million that we thought we would increase, so that's going down. Thought we would have about 10.8% in our unassigned fund balance projection. That has gone down to 9%. So within our fund balance, we have different categories, some with strings attached that are the reserve categories, and then down below what's unreserved or unrestricted. So again, going from 10.8 as our original prediction, going down to 9%. So it's still on the lower end of our fund balance policy of 8 to 16%.
Any questions for Tina? Okay, this is...
I still have more slides.
That's right, yeah.
Sorry. So next we'll go to our special ed cooperative. The revenue total and the expense total will be the same. It's a break-even fund. So their revision went down $135,000. A lot of that has to do with, we thought we would start a new level 4 program mid-year, but that hasn't happened. That'll start next year. So a lot of the startup costs, whether it's additional furniture and curriculum needs that we'll have, will probably happen next year. And then some small changes with the purchase staff. So they purchased Monticello staff. So that salary and benefit projection changed a little bit there. And then you'll see the decrease in supplies and materials due to the delay start of that level 4 program. So their fund balance, again, will be zero. It's a break even. The revenue coming in will be the same of the expenses going out. Any questions on the cooperative fund? Okay, food service. So with this revision, again, having some revised projections in there, we had an original meal estimate of 421,000 meals, 920. Revised meal estimate, a higher participation of 478,000. But within those categories, probably more of the meals being under the paid status versus a free and reduced status. And that would change how the state and federal sources come in. So with students that are under the paid status, more money comes in from the state versus if kids are on the status of free and reduced, then more money would come from the federal. So I'm predicting more comes from the paid status, so we'll see higher in the state sources, less in the federal, But within the federal, we'll have an offset where we did get another round of supply chain assistant revenue from the state, and that was about 105,000. So that's an internal offset to that decrease versus the status categories. And then for other, we saw additional a la carte, so predicting higher a la carte sales, and then higher interest revenue recognized in that budget. On the expense side, so again, revised salary and benefit projections based on kind of where I'm thinking we're going with negotiations. And then if we have higher meal estimates, we're going to have higher supplies and food costs that will go with that. In this plan, we thought we would redo 2 serving lines at Pinewood and Little Mountain. That was the vision of our director who was in 22-23 school year, but we've had a lot of changeover with the directors, and so we're just going to pause until we have an expert look at what we should do for the food service line versus me guessing and then somebody saying, nope, that was wrong. Tina, you should change it to something else and buy it again. So just pausing, let somebody that can see and know what they're doing handle any serving line changes. So with the fund balance, with those revisions, thinking we're going to add to that fund balance. Now, again, a lot of that increase is due to not doing those equipment changes, but going from a fund balance of $900,000 to $1.4 million. All right, Community Service Fund. Within this fund, some changes on the revenue side. We have an additional revised state entitlements with our adult basic revenue coming in. And then with the other category, that's where the larger increase is happening with more adult classes, pickleball leagues, trips, and other classes, plus the interest revenue. I think a lot of the classes and things were talked about last meeting with the community ed report. So hopefully that makes sense to you. So overall, their revenue revised budget is going up $302,000. And on the expense side, again, revising the salary and benefit projections. Now that the ABE staff is part of the teacher contract, so that has some effect in their budget as well. And then with purchase services, seeing some increases in the space chargebacks, the preschool transportation, and again, the additional trips and tourneys that are happening within the community ed fund. And then with the overall fund balance, just increasing a little bit overall, about $50,000. And just like the general fund, they have different categories of fund balances. So for the most part, they're positive, but we are still seeing a negative deficit in the school readiness. So we'll need to figure out a way to get that back in the black. Previously, it helped out with the voluntary preschool, the VPK of slots helping us with that. And we haven't been approved this year or last year, so that hasn't helped, but hopefully in the future we can get some of those slots in the revised legislation coming. Any questions on community ed, community service? All right, just a couple short ones left. Debt service. Not a lot of changes here, just revising down some state entitlements with our LTFM aid that was coming in, and then increasing our interest revenue on that. No changes in the expenditure budget for the debt service. So their fund balance will go down $1.8 million to $918,000. If you recall, from all the levy communications and presentations we had, you know, we returned bond proceeds back. So we saw a decrease in our levy for this year, and that increase would come back next year. So in theory, we'll have revenues and expenses be around $3.6 million each year, but now it gets our fund balance down to a reasonable fund balance, about $918,000. And finally, we have our OPEB trust fund, our other post-employment trust fund, where here we had a revision, and this fund has to show the accounting for all retirees, whether they have the sunset language or not, so all groups. So in here, having our original budget including of 106 people, now 122 people, So all the contributions have to be recognized, whether they come from the employees or the district, and the implicit rate gets recognized in there. So the new actuarial study has some different estimates for the implicit rate, which recognizes the value of our plan with those that are on it. And then on the expense side, a similar change to recognize the cost, the health insurance cost, a little bit with the dental as the premium change for that a little bit. So overall, this is the revenue and expenses coming in for the OPEB trust, but you see that we only spend down for the contracts that don't have the sunset language. So $170,000 is the true cost of those that don't have the sunset language and what we're utilizing the trust for. So on average, our spend down has been the $150,000 to $170,000, so the trust will go away. So just recognize those benefits do have a cost, and when this trust goes away, that the general fund or the other funds will have to pick up those costs. So those are very real totals or estimates. So the last two slides just has the summaries of all the funds and what they're changing to from the original to the revised. So any final questions? Otherwise, this is an action item.
Any questions from the board? Okay, this is an action item.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Melissa Curtis, seconded by Casey Root to accept the budget revision as presented. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to our building and program staff shout-outs. We have our 3 elementary principals with us today, and our ALP director as well. So welcome, and we're excited to hear what you have to tell us.
Good evening.
Celebrating our staff.
Thank you. Tonight, I have the privilege of honoring 2 extraordinary teachers, one at Eastview Education Center and another at Nature Based. The women I honor tonight both bring a level of positivity, kindness, and professionalism that's truly admirable, and I'm proud to have the privilege of working with them. First, I recognize and celebrate Mrs. Jacqueline Partridge. Jacqueline teaches kindergarten at Eastview. I've had the privilege of observing Jacqueline's incredibly kind and positive interactions with students and staff on a daily basis, and it's inspiring to watch. Jacqueline has immersed herself in letters training and intentionally puts the science of reading into action each day. She's highly collaborative, and she and her team critically analyze student performance on a consistent basis to ensure needs are being met, both academically and emotionally. Jacqueline has also partnered very closely with our board-certified behavior analyst and has been willing to try multiple new strategies this year to help students thrive at school. Her patience, kindness, and unwavering respect for students has been unmatched. Jacqueline is a highly skilled educator who values each student for their individual strengths and growth areas. She brings a calm, safe, and loving presence to her classroom and her students, and they are thriving under her care. Monticello schools are better because of teachers like Jacqueline. Secondly, I recognize and honor Miss Teresa Hill. Teresa teaches 4th grade out at the YMCA location at Bertram Regional Park. She's part of our nature-based team. Last year, she taught 2nd grade out there, and when the decision was made to shift to 4th and 5th grade classes, she stepped up to teach 4th grade. As we've completed enrollment for next year's 4th grade nature-based class, many of her students who were 2nd graders in her class last year are anxious to be in her class outdoors again next year for 4th grade. That is a true testament to the caring nature they experienced with her and the success they found in being a student in her class. Teresa brings a calm, positive energy and holds high expectations for her students. As you know, teaching outdoors comes with the challenge and responsibility of designing educational experiences that allow our students to meet all of our Minnesota state standards, while doing it in ever-changing weather conditions. Teresa's creativity, flexibility, and intentionality allow her students to learn at high levels in environments that meet their needs for movement, fresh air, and making connections to academic content in an outdoor environment. Ms. Hill was filmed by the Teaching Channel twice this year as they look to share our innovative programming with a broader audience. She also mentored a high school student this year who's pursuing a possible future in education. We're in good hands with the future of education when they have the opportunity to learn from Teresa. Thank you.
Evening, Superintendent Olson and School Board. I have 3 shout-outs to give tonight, so bear with me. I tried to keep them short and sweet. The first one is for Sydney Sayer. Sydney is a 2nd grade teacher at Little Mountain. She has many great qualities, but the main reason for the shout-out is her willingness to be a problem solver. This school year, our process and expectations for preparing for substitute teachers has changed greatly with the implementation of new technology. It has been a challenge for us, to say the least, at Little Mountain, and Sydney is one of the few that has jumped in full force. She chose to spend the last week pretending to be a sub and logging in as a sub to help us determine where some of those glitches were and to help us formulate a plan to move forward and improve the process. She remains calm and demonstrates a high level of flexibility in all situations. She is a team player and a valued member of our tech committee and overall our school committee or community. And the next shout out is for Nathan Rowe. Nathan is our school psychologist at Little Mountain. He consistently goes above and beyond to support both students and staff. On top of his already busy schedule this year, he's been determined to improve our MTSS process at the building. He has done a great job of leading our data study team and streamlining our building's data collection. Nathan also makes connections with many of our students who need a little extra TLC. He can often be found checking in with them and offering him one of his famous soccer breaks. As a new principal last year, Nathan went above and beyond to check in on me and make me feel welcomed, and for that I will forever be grateful. And then my last shout out is for our Title I staff. So this year our Title I staff have faced a lot of changes in their roles. They have gone above and beyond to collaborate with teachers to make these changes successful. We are currently utilizing a co-teaching model within our phonics block, and I am super impressed with the work they are doing, and just the teachers too that have accepted them into their classroom. So that shout out is for Marissa Bolduck, Nicole Hills, and Ashley Peloton. And then Lisa Ramarth is also a Title staff, and she had a change in her role as part of her job was shifted to also support the Title I teachers at Pinewood. She has embraced this change, and she is also a key player in that data study team that I spoke of. She shares a lot of knowledge in the area of interventions. We would like to wish her well on her upcoming retirement. She will be greatly missed at Little Mountain. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Ziebarth, board members, and Superintendent Olson. It is with great pleasure that I extend my gratitude to Ashley Koch, our reading coach at Pinewood, for her outstanding contributions to our school community this year. Ashley has integrated herself into our Pinewood family, developing strong relationships with our staff and infusing our building with positivity and joy. Her collaborative approach and dedication have been instrumental in supporting our teachers with the implementation of our new curriculum, analyzing data to drive instructional decisions, and providing engaging professional development opportunities. Ashley's versatility and commitment to excellence make her an invaluable asset to our team, and we are truly fortunate to have her among us. I also want to share my deep appreciation for Janine Severson, whose dedication and expertise profoundly impact our school community. Janine provides invaluable support in enrichment instruction for our high achievers and intervention support for our struggling learners. Janine also plays an important role in equipping our teachers with the tools and strategies needed to best serve our academically talented students. Her collaborative nature, genuine care for the well-being of both staff and students, and her organizational skills are important assets to our school. Additionally, Janine's instrumental contributions to our NWTA program demonstrate her commitment to fostering a culture of excellence within and outside of our school boundaries, our district boundaries. We are incredibly fortunate to have Janine as a member of our Pinewood family.
Hi. Here tonight to honor Jody Kramer. For those of you who don't know Jody, she's the secretary at Turning Point. She has been since the program's inception, so we're going back late 90s, 96, 97, 98, somewhere around there. So she's approaching, coming up on 30 years or getting there. And with that, Jody's the secretary, so those are the logistical duties that she performs in a given day, but she sees her job as a platform to love kids. And I guess for those reasons, she's been the heart of Turning Point since its inception, you know, just based on her longevity and based on how she views her job. So just incredibly thankful that she does it that way. Jim Johnson, I remember him saying one time he never met anybody in the district that can speak into a child's inner world the way Jody can. She just has a way of kind of peeling back the layers of the onion and reaching kids very internal. And why is that? I think she's incredibly authentic. Her heart is on her sleeve. She speaks as she's an employee, but she speaks as a grandmother, a mother, a daughter. She speaks just the holistic breadth of her experiences and really gives kids all her heart. So what you see is what you get with her. She, again, has her heart on her sleeve, and what that comes out a lot as a tough love. You know, and there's been so many meetings this year where Jody, keep coming on this one, because I know that the meeting will be better because Jody's presence is there. And she'll say things sometimes where I'm like, holy smokes, that was abrupt. That was a harsh truth. But at the same time, that meeting is still ending with a hug for that parent or a hug for that student, because they know where her heart and her intentions are at. So every day that we are blessed to work with her, and she's spending some time at the high school now as well this spring. But she just brings so much to the table that we're continually thankful for her example. So, thank you.
Thank you to our 4 principals, and thank you to Superintendent Olson for starting this program to make sure that we are recognizing excellent performance where it happens. So often it's easy to just ignore that and not call it out and celebrate it. And I think it's really important in a healthy organization to thank people for the good work that they're doing. And we do have some very special certificates and things for the folks that we honor every month. So moving on to second reading of policies, we have Mr. Rob Daniker, Director of Human Resource, going to brief us on the second reading for our policies this evening.
All right, Chair Ziebarth, member of the board, Superintendent Olson, once again, hello. So we have second reading of 5 policies for tonight. These policies come to us from our policy committee, meets prior to the first board meeting of every month. And so the first one tonight is policy number 425, staff development and mentoring. The purpose of this policy is to establish a staff development program and structure to carry out planning and reporting on staff development that supports improved student learning.
Does anybody have any questions or comments or discussion about policy 425? Okay, thank you.
All right, the next one on the docket this evening is policy 513. This is titled Student Promotion, Retention, and Program Design. The purpose of this policy is to provide guidance to professional staff, parents, and students regarding student promotion, retention, and program design.
Questions or discussion by the board? Okay. Moving on.
Okay. The next policy for action tonight is policy 601, School District Curriculum and Instruction Goals. The purpose of this policy is to establish broad curriculum parameters for the school district that encompasses the Minnesota academic standards and federal law and are aligned with creating the world's best workforce. Just want to pause there briefly after the purpose statement. Many of our policies, and 601 is no different, is in response to legislation that does exist, and the board as an entity and the school district as a whole has sometimes limited ability to change what is in state statute or in federal law. And so just recognizing that much of what is in 601 refers to those statutory references.
Questions or discussion on 601? Thank you. Moving on.
Next one is policy 603, curriculum development. The purpose of this policy is to provide direction for continuous review and improvement of the school curriculum.
Questions or discussion on 603? Okay, moving on.
Okay. And our last one for action tonight is policy 604. And I just pause at 601, 603, 604. The policy committee did invite our director of teaching and learning, Director Foshing to join us for a conversation regarding the 600 series, since they are integral to her role in the district. So 604 is instructional curriculum. Purpose of this policy is to provide for the development of course offerings for students.
Questions on policy number 604 or discussion? Okay, hearing none. These are policies up for second read, and we will approve them as a batch. Policy 425, 513, 601, 603, and 604. Moved by Jeff Hegle.
Second.
Seconded by Casey Root. All those in favor of approving the policies as presented, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Daniker. And finding no other business on our agenda for this evening, we are adjourned at 7:25. Thank you.